So we have two different versions. One is factual, that supports the Rohingyas' claim that they belong in Burma and they are an ethnic nationality and they enjoyed full and equal citizenship in the Union of Myanmar. And they are not demanding self-determination. They are not armed, despite the fact there is a small group of like radical militants who have been born into the genocidal conditions all their life, and out of desperation and rage, like any young, self-respecting man would do, or woman would do, to rise up. You know, resistance could be found even in the German concentration camps in places like Auschwitz. So because of the official lies coming from the monks, the highest national leaders, we have created as a nation, not just simply as the military that pulled the trigger, genocidal myths about Rohingyas. These myths are very important. In the media language, you will call them framing of a targeted community. These framings include strategic responses, and what we are seeing is a genocidal persecution. And that persecution hinges primarily on these myths. So in the eyes of the Buddhists, they are so shocked and emotionally hurt when the world, United Nations and people like myself and journalists who look at the facts and report on the facts say Burma is committing a genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, or in a more diluted word, ethnic cleansing. They are shocked because they think their soldiers, the politicians like Suu Kyi, are all defending the Buddhist way of life, you know, sorting the illegal migration problem. When you define the a human community as illegal migrants, of course you have to take legal actions. Yeah. That's a policy response that is built in, inherent in the framing. Rohingyas are portrayed as land thieves. Well, if people, you know, what do you do with thieves? In all society, thieves get, subject to different types of punishment, from chopping off, the hands to caning to more modern and liberal form of punishment. They are Islamicist invaders hell-bent on Islamicizing the country and turning a Buddhist country, predominantly Buddhist country, into a Muslim country. They are viruses. That's a medical. Viruses need to be eliminated. Yeah, they need to be. So, and then the militaries view them as a national security threat because of the 17 Muslim communities in total that are scattered across different regions of Myanmar. Rohingyas are the only group that has been recognized as a Muslim community with their own ancestral land that is proven historically and that was once recognized officially as a Mayu frontier district. And the second reason that they are guilty in the eyes of the Burmese military is they are right next to one of the largest Muslim countries, Bangladesh, landmass, half the size of Burma, but population-wise, 3 times as many as Burmese population, at 160 million in Bangladesh. And so in the event that Bangladesh wanted to relieve its demographic pressure, this land could be snatched by Bangladesh using Rohingyas as a proxy. And then finally, an enemy of Buddhism. So like monks got, exercised and they got involved. And so if you go with the popular myths and official lies, Rohingyas get framed as, it is to be expected that Burma has launched the genocide over the last 8 years. And then finally, genocide is not just simply about mass killings. There are 2 sets of handouts there, and that's straight from the United Nations. Officially, yesterday, the head of the mission that in an unprecedented move, without going through any judicial tribunal, called this genocide against the Rohingya, war crimes and crimes against humanity, against Kachin, Christians and Shan minorities and others in two Shan and Kachin state right alongside the Chinese border. And we call this the slow-burning nature of genocide. Yesterday, former Attorney General of Indonesia, Marzuki Darusam, briefed the Security Council and told them genocide is ongoing and close to 500,000 Rohingyas are actually trapped inside. And that's a population Aung San Suu Kyi points to and say the world is fussing over these people that are fleeing. Half of the Rohingya population stay. Why do they stay? If we are committing a genocide, why would half the population and the other half fled? No, the fact is, there are more Rohingyas, close to 2 million around the world, 300,000 in Saudi Arabia, 1 million in Bangladesh. Over the last 40 years, since the first state-directed violence against Rohingya began in February 1978, we have essentially emptied the Rohingya land of the population. We want the land, we want the resources, we want to control the Arakan Strip for strategic reasons, and China wants to have a base there. China has twin gas and oil pipeline. Because it's important to China, Japan gets involved. Japan wants to contain China's influence. India wants to contain China. USA wants to contain China. Corporations want resources off the Rohingya coastline. We have one of the 10 largest natural gas deposits in the world, and about 10 countries are involved, including the peace-loving Norway. So yesterday, the fact-finding mission chief, Mr. Darusam, told the Security Council that genocide is ongoing. It is not finished. And there are reasons that he said that basically structures of repression, institutions of repressions, the commanders, policymakers, whitewashers like Aung San Suu Kyi, they remain intact in their places. 1 year after the genocide has become the headlines defining the Burmese issue in the world, United Nations has failed to take any initiative to stop the genocide. And this is the 11th hour, the equivalent of bomb the train track moment for the Nazi regime. And shamefully, Japan, that created the armed forces of Burma, where my family has served for 3 generations, is collaborating at worst and standing by as the Japanese patronized Tatmadaw or armed forces is committing war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. It's one thing that Japan refuses to acknowledge fully and come to terms like the post-Nazi Germany has done with the atrocity that Hitler regime had committed. Japan has the audacity to collaborate with the regime that is backed up by the Burmese military that Japan patronized. Japan just not simply patronized the regime before the war. It has consistently sided with the Burmese military leadership. The lion's share of war reparation, about $200 million in 1958, went to the Burmese military. All successive Burmese military governments have enjoyed unconditional support from Tokyo. It is time that our Bay government totally review the policy towards Burma. One thing, you don't acknowledge your own war crimes and fascism and atrocities you committed in Manchuria, Burma, and other places all across Southeast Asia. Another thing, you are going along with another regime that the United Nations calls war criminal, genocidal regime, and criminals against humanity. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, powerful stuff. We're going to ask the professor for a comment. If you could come to the mic, and if you could keep it, if possible, to 5 minutes. Is that all right? Now, what I think we would be interested in hearing, if you're able to address it, is exactly Japan's culpability. Any detail on that you can divulge? Thank you.